Hey, it's Denise, and I'm going to try to get this video shot today because I'm not feeling great. And just on the off chance that I'm feeling worse tomorrow and not better, I wanted to get this done. As I sort of mentioned in my last video, first of all, welcome to my channel if it's your first time here, and welcome back if you've been here before. As I mentioned in my last video, I plan on doing some indoor gardening this winter, and I wanted to do an herb garden, and I wanted to get sort of back to my roots, so to speak. A little bit of a pun there because I'm talking about planting. In terms of learning more about herbalism, as someone who's considered themselves a witch or Wiccan, I use the term interchangeably. I don't connect a negative connotation to witch. I don't think most witches do, or they wouldn't call themselves witches. But the general public or the uninformed sometimes still have a negative connotation associated with that word. I, however, have no problem with the word witch. And I don't think it's gender specific. I think witch applies to both men and women. If you feel differently and, prefer, you don't use the word witch, maybe because of the connotations it has in society, and you prefer Wiccan, or as a man do you not like the word witch. The few Wiccan men I've known use the word witch to describe themselves, but certainly there may be men who prefer another term. Anyway, back to gardening. I mentioned that I wanted to get back into something that I had started learning about a long time ago, and that was herbal medicine, herbalism in general, just as one of the areas that as witches we like to have knowledge about. And I had started learning, and then, like I kind of said, life happened, and you raise kids. You, in my case, raise 3 horses from the time they're weaned for 8 years. You have dogs, you have health problems, you have a disabling health incident that ends your career. All kinds of things happen, and your studies go by the wayside for way more years than you should let them. So I decided that this winter, which I always think of winter as a good time for both contemplation and also education. While things are sort of resting in nature, it's a good time to let ourselves rest, but also not to let our minds be dormant, to be sure we're still filling them with information and maybe looking forward to spring and the warmer weather, and planting a garden is a great way to do that. So with that in mind, I had purchased a good number of herb seeds. Now, a lot of these are herbs I have never grown, and I still have to do a lot of research on the use of them. Something else I purchased for the first time this year, and these are not things I grew, these are things I purchased, are kits for making your own. Where did I put them? Here they are, for making herbal remedies. And these are kits sold by Farmhouse Teas. This one's for a wild cherry bark syrup. You can see that. It's dried herbs and things that are used to make that. And then same company, Farmhouse Teas. This is herbal elderberry syrup mix. Those are probably 2 common herbal remedies that people use during cold and flu season. So I thought these might be a simple way just to get myself sort of jump in and start utilizing some natural remedies. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick glance at the seeds that I'm using. I should say the seeds that I've gotten, and I'm trying to decide which ones I'm going to actually plant in no particular order. I'll start with ones that are in the larger seed packets. Here we have Feverfew, which I got from 2 different companies. I used to take Feverfew as part of my treatment for migraines before I got onto the current medications that I'm on. I'm on 2 different preventative medications for migraines. So I used to use Feverfew to try to help break a migraine if you had one start, in spite of the fact that you're on medication. Now, I find that the feverfew tablets or capsules, they usually are, that you can get at like the health food store or the pharmacy, my stomach only puts up with a couple doses, and then I start to get a little bit nauseous from it. So I'm hoping that maybe if I make either a tincture or a tea, that might be more easy for me to use. So I know what feverfew is used for. I know, that, and again, I'm not giving this as medical advice. Please don't take it that way. I'm purely saying that, this is what I'm intending to grow these things for. Next, and I'm covering the whole range here, from stuff that most people have in their spice rack to things that are more maybe leaning towards things you'd use in a dried tea or herbal remedy, to things that you would use more for spiritual or ceremonial use. So herbs that you're not necessarily ingesting, maybe you're using them as part of an incense or using them to make anointing oils. So I have quite the variety of seeds. So amongst them, and again, in no particular order, we've got cilantro, which I've never grown, but I do enjoy it on my food. We've got calendula, which people do use medicinally, particularly on the skin. It seems to be the way I see that. This was if you've never ordered from Baker Creek Seeds, their website is rareseeds.com. They almost always, I don't think I've ever gotten an order from them that didn't have a free gift. This was a free gift of lemon bee balm. So I've grown regular bee balm that the flowers were red. I don't know if lemon bee balm, what color it's going to be, or what. I imagine it's going to have a citrusy, lemony smell, perhaps. So that'll be my first time trying that out. This is, I have two orders that they sent me. Dill. When they send you the free gifts, like the picture on the front doesn't really help you with what it is, but the little bit of information there on the back is telling me that this is dill. Now, I just grew a bunch of dill in my AeroGarden that, in fact, just this past week, I harvested and dried and put up. So I'm set for dill through the winter. I'm not going to use both parsley and dill I grew and put up. So I'm not going to need either of those through the winter. Definitely those would be things that I will consider for in the spring if I need them. Now, onto these smaller packets, which are packets that I got from seedsnow.com. They don't come in big paper packets. If you're not familiar with them, they send their seeds. Now, these are their sampler size, so they're a small number of seeds, but generally for someone like myself who's just looking at a small garden, they're plenty big enough. Like here you can see some German chamomile. I looked, there are definitely two different types. There, chamomile, you've got German and you've got Roman. Some people definitely seem to have a strong preference for one over the other. But, I mean, I guess maybe a mixture of both might be a good mix. I don't know. Maybe that would be something to consider. What they had available was the German, so I did get that. I feel like I'm going to end up with, like, I have them spread out in what's supposed to be a semi-organized manner. Like I said, not in any order, but at least so that I can see them all. Then lemon balm, aka Melissa, which I grow all the time. I grow it sometimes as a house plant, although I don't currently have any growing. I'll probably start this soon indoors just as a house plant because I love it. You just touch the leaves and you get this wonderful lemon smell, and it makes for a very nice addition to herbal teas. Borage. I have never grown borage. I've seen lots of gardeners say that they grow it. I've never grown it. And it is also one that apparently the pollinators love. So if you want to make sure that, the bees are hitting up your garden spot, definitely make sure you throw in plenty of things that flower so that, in addition, if you're growing vegetables and things that need pollinators, you want flowers that are attracting them. And that way, by the time your vegetables are starting to set flowers, the bees already sort of have you on their daily route of places to visit because they've been visiting your flowers. I ended up with, now I have 4 varieties of basil here, which is a lot for someone who doesn't really eat basil. And I should say I don't like pesto, so I guess I don't like a lot of basil. I guess in smaller quantities, maybe I would like it, but I ended up trying 4 different varieties. We have lemon basil, Genovese or Genovese, I'm not sure how you say that, basil. We have cinnamon basil. And then we have, it just says herb mix of basil. So again, probably I'm the only person who doesn't have that in terms of in their spice rack. A lot of people use basil. As far as the mint family goes, not a big fan of regular mint, but I do love the taste of spearmint. So I did get some spearmint seeds. I'm assuming it's just as invasive as other members of the mint family, so definitely container gardening for me is the way that I'm going to go with this, because otherwise it just spreads. Next we have lemongrass, which I remember as a kid just thinking it was kind of like a weed. Periodically there was lemongrass and there was onion grass, and you would just come upon them in the lawn in clumps, and by pinching a piece off you could just smell it and know which it was. So that reminds me, next we have garlic chives. Now I've only had chives that tasted like onions, so when I saw these that say they tasted like garlic, I thought, why not? Next we have tansy. Have I ever grown tansy? No, I have not. But I've heard lots of people say that they do and that they love it. So that's another one that I'll be doing more research to see, why do you love it and what do you do with it? Rosemary is kind of a classic. I've grown it before, but I've only grown it from a small plant, which then turned out to be almost like a shrub. It got so big. I've never grown it from seed before. Definitely has its culinary uses. Also has its uses in some ceremonial use. So again, why not? Back to more culinary here, and again, something I've never grown. I've never grown leeks, so I thought I might give them a try. I believe they like the cooler weather, so I think there's something you can start relatively early in the spring or plant more towards the end of the summer into the fall. Now, the problem here in the Adirondack Mountains of sort of northern New York State is that spring and fall are very short seasons. They joke that here we have winter and the 4th of July, which pretty much means it's either really hot and then suddenly over the course of a week it becomes really cold. So we don't really have, while we do have 4 seasons, like it's already been in the 20s multiple times at night and the trees were still completely green. Within 1 week, I went from using the air conditioner 24/7 to uninstalling the air conditioner because the furnace was kicking on because it was in the 20s at night. So spring and fall, we don't really have a long transition. So things that need that in-between weather are a little bit difficult here. And another reason that I want to try to grow some of those kinds of things indoors in containers if I can. Catnip is something that I have grown before. I don't currently have any cat neighbors. I used to have a cat neighbor who I would periodically spoil with his owner's permission, with a little bit of catnip. But catnip is also used in herbal teas, particularly ones people drink in the evening. So I thought, why not? I have not personally restocked my herbs. It's embarrassing to say. I'm a naughty witch. I haven't restocked my herb supply in probably 2 years in terms of going through a bulk sort of witchy-oriented herb supplier, not necessarily culinary herbs, and just gone through it and freshened out my supply in, it's got to be at least 2 years. I want to say 2.5 years. So my herbs are probably not very fresh, the ones that I have. All the more reason that this year I do want to grow them so that I know at least, when I grow them and dehydrate them and save them, I know that they're new. And here we have the lemongrass, like I was mentioning earlier. Something else that I see people use both to put directly on food that they're cooking, and I would imagine there's no reason you can't put it in a tea. Next we have wormwood. Never grown it before. Not sure what I'll use it for, but I have seen spells that call for it, And again, in a northeastern climate, are all these things going to successfully grow outdoors? Probably not. So the more research I get to do, the more I'll figure out which ones I'm going to bother trying to grow outside and which ones I'm just going to try to do indoors under grow lights. Now this one I had never even heard of before, soapwort, known as soapanaria, if I'm saying that right. The little description they gave on the website said it was an herb that you can then sort of, I guess, boil down or make a solution out of, and it works as a natural soap that you can clean things with it. That fascinated me. I used to make and sell soap from scratch. So as someone who has made natural soaps, and I don't mean go to the craft store and buy the melt and pour stuff. I mean buy the lye, buy the coconut oil, the palm oil, the shea butter, all that, make it from scratch. So as someone who's made tons of soap that way, the idea of a plant that has the property to make a cleanser out of just kind of fascinated me. And I had never seen that one before, so I got some. And after all, what herb garden would be complete without some mugwort? So got some seeds for that. Don't worry, we're getting close to the end. I recently accidentally killed through, I would say probably benign neglect for a while, which then apparently wasn't so benign anymore. I think my lavender became root bound because it was always very forgiving when I would accidentally not water it. But then I realized, oh, let me water it. It's still not coming back. And I realized, you know what? It's been in that same container so long. I bet it was probably just getting really root bound. So I need to start a new lavender plant. That's something that I also just grow as a house plant all the time. Hyssop, something else I hear people say that they love that I have never grown. And yet again, something to learn about. Why do they love it? Why do they grow it? And I'll be joining them. Sage, which I grow pretty much every year. I make smudge sticks out of it. I use it if you're making breakfast sausage. It's one of the primary herbs that's used to make that kind of classic breakfast sausage taste. As far as food, that's probably the only thing that comes to mind that I really put it in. I use it mostly to make smudge sticks. I like to make them with lavender and sage. Next, in the mint family, we have lemon mint, which I have never grown, and I'm interested to try. Again, with it being in the mint family, definitely going to do that in a container. And then, what garden would be complete without horehound? Which I know from looking at some old-fashioned remedies, they used horehound sort of to soothe your throat. Used it like to make hard candies, almost like early version of cough drops. So I'm going to look into sort of the history of that and the making of those and see if it looks like something that I might want to try. Of course, with any of these things, I would always say, make sure you do plenty of reading, check out the safety, whether or not it is still considered safe to consume these herbs. Some of them are meant to be used topically and not to be consumed at all. And others, like I said, are used in incense or smudge sticks and are not to be put on the body or ingested. So with that whole variety in mind, I have my going to use my probably next few weeks of doing research and deciding which ones I want to grow, deciding which ones I think I'll get the most use out of, whatever that use may be, and then figuring out if I think it's worth trying to just, as it gets closer to spring, should I be starting plants with the intention of transplanting them to grow outdoors in the summer, or should I be just accepting that maybe they need to be grown as a house plant? So that's where I'm at with my collection of seeds for herbs. Now, the rest of my seed collection, it's getting there with organization. And actually doing this video helped me get the rest of my recently acquired herb seeds out so I can put them in the appropriate plastic cases that I keep my seeds in my newly organized seed collection. So I hope you found this interesting, informative. Let me know what you're growing, or if you have any favorites, like must-haves that you grow in your herb garden every year, whether that's on a windowsill in your house or out in the ground or on a container on your patio, however it is that you do your gardening. I happen to love gardening. My other YouTube channel, which is simply my name, Denise Maloney Piran. You'll see it on this channel as a favorite channel. I do a lot of gardening videos. I do unboxings and reveals of non-witchy products. And sometimes I just do my opinion on things. So that's it for my phone felt the need to remind me that I had an appointment today to get my flu shot, but the fact of the matter is I rescheduled that. Poor timing that it chose to do that while I was recording. No, I'm not late for my flu shot appointment. I'm having it next week. Anyway, sorry that interrupted our little ending of the video here. I hope you found it informative, and again, please like, subscribe, share. If you'd like to be aware whenever I post a new video, hit the notification button. And like I said, if you're interested in gardening, particularly hydroponic and or container gardening, you can check out my other channel, which is just my name, Denise Maloney Piran, and you should see a link to it on this this video. So have a great day, and once again, as always, thank you for watching.